Hi everyone, Shannon with Apogee the Moon. So I missed last week and I'm really sorry about that. I was a little under the weather. I had a migraine for 2 days and then my blood pressure was through the roof, skyrocketed. So I decided to take last week off. So other than physical illness, I'm going to try to post every week. So I do apologize for that. But let's jump into what it is that we have. Actually, no, you know what? I have a couple of announcements, right? So this coming week, if you haven't already seen, if you don't follow me on Instagram, you should follow me there. The link is below in the description box. And I've been posting, there is a masterclass series that I am in collaboration with a woman by the name of Marissa, and she is hosting it and putting it on. She's an absolutely wonderful person. She is, you know, a huge advocate for women and children, and she is just a great yoga instructor. So I am the only astrologer in this masterclass series, as it's being dubbed, and everybody else is yoga, all different kinds of yoga. So, and then you get to learn a little bit of astrology. You know, maybe I'll sprinkle in some yoga correlations with astrology. But that you can follow my Instagram account, and it's every night starting, I believe, the 14th or the 15th. So it's either starting on Valentine's Day. So for those that celebrate, happy Valentine's Day. For those that are, you know, a little different in their practices, happy Lupercalia. And I know I just murdered saying that, but I got to keep going. So yeah, masterclass next week, next Friday on the 19th. And also, what else do we have going on? So I'm also over on the Lilith Society. That's actually where this is going to be cross-posted on the Lilith Society's Facebook page. And I'm really super excited about that collaboration. Beautiful women. There is a priestess. There is an apothecary. There is tarot readers. You know, spellcraft, witchcraft, that kind of stuff. Alchemy. You know, herbalism. There's jewelry on there. I mean, Jackie makes gorgeous jewelry. I've been eyeballing a piece, so I'll probably be getting it just because that's me. Sorry about the snort. And I'm also going to be coming up here this spring. I'm going to be working for my mentor, Heather Eland. She has brought myself and another woman in as TAs for her brand new astrology course that she's going to be releasing. It's going to be completely comprehensive. It's going to bring you from basic, know nothing about astrology beginner all the way up to being able to do chart readings, even possibly for clients if that's what you choose to do. So I'm super excited about that collaboration. That can only make, you know, me better as an astrologer, and I get to work with people, you know, in small group settings, you know, one-to-one answering their questions as well, but also small groups. And I'm super stoked about that. I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm just over the moon. I really am. And hey, I'm a Cancer sun, so, you know, Cancer's ruled by the moon. So let's get into this week's forecast coming up. And I need to find my pages here. Whoop, where's my share? Where's my share? I clicked on the wrong thing first. So, share screen. So this is for next week. So the 15th through the 21st, we don't have a lot of aspects going on next week, but we do have, you know, the main event that's going to be throughout the year. We've already been feeling it. We already know what's coming. We don't necessarily know how it's all going to play out, but we know something needs to change in our personal lives, as a collective, all the above, but we don't quite know how that cookie is going to crumble yet. So starting out the week on the 15th, we do have Venus trining the North Node, which is super exciting. But then on the 17th, we have the main event of the week, and that is Saturn squaring Uranus. You know, it's not something that's going to be oh my God, out of the blue, it could be. I mean, if you're not paying attention. But generally speaking, these are outer planets, and as such, they're very slow moving. So they're in proximity. They've been in proximity for several weeks now. So it's not something that's really out of the blue. I mean, with Uranus, it could be. It really could be. So I want to try to be careful with how I say it, but most of the times you see what's coming, but how it actually plays out could be shocking, right? It could be that out of the blue, Band-Aid gets ripped off, blood everywhere. I'm That's not really a thing with this aspect. I'm just like metaphors and archetypes, everybody, metaphors. So on the 19th, we have the first quarter square from the new moon that we just had in Aquarius. And this first quarter square, well, it's really a second quarter square is what they call it. So the first phase of the moon would be the new moon. The second would be the first quarter square to the full moon. The third would be the full moon to the fourth quarter square, and the fourth quarter square down to the new moon. It's just how it rolls. But this is going to be happening with the sun in Pisces and the moon in Gemini. So there's a pivot that's going to need to be made later in the week, as well as at the same time that this is happening, we have Venus square Mars. So it's not the worst aspect in the world, but Venus square Mars is kind of touchy. So on the 20th, we also have Mercury stationing direct. Yay! Forward momentum. Not quite yet, but we'll get there. So on the 15th, we do have planet the Venus. I think I need to slow down a little bit, huh? So we do have Venus, the planet of love, beauty, relationships, money, in trine with the North Node. And so the North and South nodes are where we're going to what we need to let go of, or where we've been, what we need to release. So with Venus in trine with, that also means that she's in sextile with the South Node. So working with the things that you've learned from the past to be able to get to that next step in the future. It's an easy aspect, and easy aspects, people can let them pass by. But if you focus on them and you understand your chart, you can understand the action that you need to take in order to get that easy result that's presenting itself for you to take advantage of. Okay. On February 17th is the main event of the week. Like I said, we have Saturn square Mars. So that we've been feeling this build up for a while. So like I said, with the slower moving outer planets, they come into orb of each other, which, is, some people give it 10 degrees. I'll give it just a smaller, maybe 6-degree orb. So we've been feeling the shift. We've been feeling it. We know that there's something that we need to change. We know that there's something that's going on. And we've been feeling it really since we had a preview of it back in 2020 when Saturn had its short, stay, its quick little sunglasses and margarita vacation in Aquarius when, in 2020, that like 3 or 4 month period that it was in Aquarius and then back into Capricorn. So, we feel the oppressiveness of where it is that the yoke of our duty or our responsibilities are. We feel those oppressive burdens of society, of family, of, spouses, friends, work. Wherever Saturn moves, it restricts. Saturn just is like the great restrictor, and it's pressure and holding back, knows, not now, don't do it, fear even. And where Uranus moves, this is liberation and freedom, self-expression. This can be, your work, your career, your relationships, wherever these are showing up in the chart as they transit through and in your natal chart. This is where we can feel these liberating things, or these restrictive things, as it were, with Saturn. So while we may feel the chafe, right? Like, I don't know if anybody knows what that word means anymore, but while we may feel the chafe of needing, wanting, craving total change, total upheaval because of that Uranus and Taurus, being a conscious human being and dropping a bomb on someone is, you know, I mean, that's bad enough, but expecting to make the upheaval happen all at once in just a very short period of time with this aspect specifically is unrealistic, and you can do a lot more damage than you can good with this. So, you know, there's many different ways that this can show up for people. You know, doing the thing or ending the thing, or, you know, quitting a job, leaving a relationship, nixing that toxic friendship, you know, whatever the case may be, completely transforming yourself. If you're an Aquarius, that's possibly a thing. Right now, well, it's not possibly, it is a thing. You guys are craving freedom of expression. So, you know, while events may come outside of you to happen, like seemingly happening to you, they're happening for you because something needs to change, right? So while it may happen now, there will be a revisit this summer, and then again in December at the end of the year. So it's time to settle into the decisions that we need, want, and desire to make, and take the necessary action to extricate or to dedicate ourselves to the path ahead and what it is, however that is expressing for you, and where that's showing up in your chart, you know, where these planets are transiting. So, you know, doing the thing or extricating, or, you know, something coming in or something going out, however it shows up, you know, maybe something that will yield long lasting results or long lasting ramifications, as the case were, right? Because everything is cause and effect. So then we move on to February 19th. We have Venus squaring Mars. And so this is one where we may feel really fired up about something. We may be in argument with someone, or we may be really passionate about someone or something in our lives. You know, this is the masculine and the feminine as planets go. Mars and Venus are, you know, the archetypal, archetypal masculine, Mars, warrior, male, masculine, very virulent energy. I don't have my words today. I'm sorry. It's Mercury retrograde. And then Venus, which is the feminine, which is, you know, the softer feminine female, you know, the anima and the animus, however you want to say it. You know, this can be undue arguments between lovers, spouses, friends, colleagues, coworkers. This can also be dissatisfaction with oneself, and the expression of our desires. Or it can be a very passionate, you know, expression, right? Like you're feeling really passionate about something, you're really excited about something, right? Because it can go one of two ways, especially with Venus, because Venus, you know, square aspects to Venus are not necessarily the worst in the world. But with Mars can be a real dick. I'm just gonna say it. I said it. I'm gonna stick by it. Like, I love my Mars people. I like Mars when it's in a positive aspect, but when he's squaring things, man, Mars can just be mean. So, you know, maybe we're stuck in a relationship, right? Like Venus relationship, Mars passion that we're dissatisfied with. You know, and it's offering nothing of passion or desire. You know, perhaps the fire's burned out. You know, take stock, talk it out. Even if an argument happens, maybe that could spark something. I mean, I'm not an advocate for starting an argument just to start an argument. There's got to be a reason behind it. But some people, you know, different strokes, different folks. Um, you know, this can also be the cutting away, because Mars rules knives, right? And what do knives do? Knives cut, knives separate. You know, cutting away of a relationship of some kind that no longer serves you, or maybe something that no longer serves them. Maybe it's an outside influence coming in to say, no, you know what, I don't want to be with you anymore. Or, no, you know what, I'm sorry, you're terminated. You know, it could be that. It could be you deciding that you're going to leave your job. It's depending on where it shows up, right? So, you know, as well, this could also be the flip side. It could also be inexplicably feeling drawn to someone or something, just to be in relative orb of them, even if it's, you know, only for sex or only for a situationship that is mutually beneficial. It might not turn out to be love per se, but it, you know, it could be for the greater good of everybody, a collaboration of sorts. Mars does rule our passions, our desires, our willpower. Venus is our love, our money, our affectionate nature, or our love language, as the common culture calls it now. So on this day too, though, you have to remember we also have the sun and moon in square. So we have both masculine and feminine planets in square with each other on this day. So there's definitely some type of tension that's been boiling up and boiling to the surface in terms of the masculine and the feminine principle. And you know, masculine and feminine principles, I'll make sure that I say that plural. You know, with the sun at 1 degree of Pisces and the moon at 1 degree of Gemini, you know, this is a pivot or a change from what we seeded at the new moon. So, you know, Mars was heavily involved in that. Uranus was heavily involved in that. You know, Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, everybody was involved in that conversation at the new moon. So now with the sun and the moon in square with each other at, you know, 1 degree of Gemini and Pisces, this is, we have the north node. The moon is going to be transiting with the north node through here. The sun is going to be transiting with Neptune. So the nodes are in square with Neptune currently. So there's definitely some type of spiritual, etheric, higher manifestation with this square that maybe we're not quite sure yet how it's going to play out, but there's definitely a level up. Like it's leveling up right now. This whole year, all of, you know, the 365 days of January that we just had, and now we're already halfway through February, right? So there's a leveling up that needs to happen. Everybody's been feeling it. Everybody that I've been talking to has been feeling it. They're like, you know, we wanted to do the thing and now we're doing the thing, but now it's like, okay, maybe we weren't expecting how much we need to level up and how much more we need to do now with this leveling up. So to get to where you want to go, you got to get to that next step personally. And I feel like that's what this is, because with the sun coming into Pisces, it's more about dissolving that ego and doing what's right, good, just, and best for your higher vibration, your higher self. And then with, you know, the moon coming into Gemini for this square, it's going to be conjunct the north node. This is where we're going, and possibly a split in another split in the reality chain that we've been watching unfold, where everything just is so divided and people are on either end, you know, bookending that spectrum of in between. So as such, there is a pivot or a change that needs to happen with this second quarter square from the new moon. And, you know, what we planted in the ethers, what we seeded, now needs to have action be taken. It doesn't mean that it's going to resolve itself in this specific moon cycle. It could take up to 6 months, up to a year, up to a year and a half, 2 years, you know, depending on how the rest of your chart is set up. It could, you know, and depending on what you're going through personally too, in terms of, you know, where you are in your process. So it could take a little while, or it could manifest within the next 6 months, right? So having a new moon in a fixed sign and a subsequent second quarter square in the mutable signs, this means that there needs to be change. Something needs to be changed. Something needs to pivot. Something needs to go left, or something needs to go right, as it were with the sun with the fishes and, you know, the moon with Gemini. Maybe it goes both ways. Who knows? But we need to be flexible for what has happened and what will happen over the coming weeks. especially, you know, a week after this, we do have that full moon in Virgo, and things are definitely going to shift a bit more with that. And then finally on February the 20th, we do have Mercury going direct. Woohoo! It's stationing though, so it's going to take a little while. Mercury, when he's clipping along at his usual speed, he goes of roughly 2-ish degrees a day. So it's going to take him a little while to get out of shadow. You know, but we do have the resolution, we have a forward momentum. From here on out, we can breathe a sigh of relief and say, okay, we're not going to have to review anything or slow it down again until May 15th, because that is when it goes into the Gemini shadow period. So just forewarn out there, you'll forget by then, but it's okay. We'll remind you. So this is really exciting because this is forward momentum. So that being said, let's get into the all signs forecast, starting with Aries. And I did something a little bit different. So I just posted the chart in each of the slides just because. So what I'm going to be focusing on, you know, is this square, because is the square between Saturn and Uranus. And the reason I'm going to focus on this is because as this comes exact on February 17th at 2:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I am, the moon is going to be with Uranus. So there's going to be an added layer of things that need to happen and need to go on. So for Aries and for Aries rising, so for this, you know, this square that's going on between Saturn and Uranus, this is happening in your 11th house and in your 2nd house. So for Aries rising in particular, you know, or sun or moon, it's going to be a little bit different with the sun and the moon, but the energy is going to be similar. You know, with Saturn in your 11th house, this is restricting your friendships. This is, you know, I know an Aries rising person that is having issues with friends right now because something happened and there was an accident with their vehicle. And those said friends who they thought were one way are actually turning out to be another way. I can't say too much, but it is going to cost this Aries rising some money, which is where Uranus is, which is where the moon is. And the indications there with, you know, an Aries rising person, the moon is your 4th house. So there could be some type of implication with this coming exact on this day, especially that there's something also to do with the home. And for this person, it is because they're going to have to utilize some insurance. For also, right? So you have that 8th house implication with Scorpio, and Mars rules Scorpio also in the 2nd house. And so they're going to have to use their home insurance, which is 4th house, right? Are you seeing where I'm going with this? And they're going to have to pay to have a vehicle fixed for one of their friends because they accidentally dinged it up. So that's how it can manifest. And on this day in particular for this person, it could, you know, that's how it showed up for them, right? And I know the chart, this is just the chart of when it comes exact. It's not, you know, for the rising or whatnot. I'm just, you can see Aries is right here, the symbol. Where's my mouse? Okay, my mouse is gone. I think I lost my mouse. So Aries is, you know, the one that looks like the ram. It's just like the symbol in the picture over on the right. So that's what's happening for this Aries rising. And so it's not going to play out exactly like that for all Aries rising, but there is definitely this sense that there's some type of disruption coming in that's going to cost you money, that has to do with either a social group, a social setting, groups and organizations, even humanitarian pursuits that you're going to have to shell out money for, or that you maybe, you know, some of you could be looking at houses too. And that could be a thing with this coming exact with the moon involved. It also means emotions are going to be involved. So, you know, just be cognizant of that, that your, especially your emotional body or your body itself, you could feel on this day very wired and like jittery. So there is, that could be a thing as well for some Aries rising people. But that example that I gave is like just straight on. I mean, this person is an Aries rising and that I'm talking about. And yeah, so just be cognizant that, you know, watch out, because it could be, you know, accidents or whatnot. Because Mars is also, you know, in square with, it's still within the orb of Venus. So this could also be arguments and disputes with friends as well. This first quarter square that's happening with the moon and the sun, though, coming up for you later in the week, this is, you know, this is happening. The sun is going to be in your 12th house, and the moon is going to be in your 3rd house of communication. So whatever happened at the new moon, which I can tell you that that accident that I said with the vehicle with the Aries rising, that did happen very close to this new moon. It actually happened as the moon was in its dark phase. So there's definitely something that's going to have to change, something that's probably you're going to have to take a pivot on, in terms of, now energy is showing up in your 12th house. There's something that needs to be ended, completed, you know, done away with. This could also be, you know, indicative of maybe something's going on in your children's life where they're being pulled away from society for some reason, because it is the sun. The moon is your 4th house. The sun rules your 5th house. It could be maybe that one of your kids needs to go in lockdown or in quarantine for something. Um, you know, it could be something as simple as that, just as a physical manifestation. You know, or it could be that there's communication of some kind coming from, you know, behind the scenes, or there's some type of behind the scenes communication that happens that is going to, you know, have to make you really think and evaluate what's going on going forward until we get to that full moon in Virgo. So there could be something behind the scenes that's happening, or it could be, you know, I mean, it could very well be hospitals too, because that's a thing. It could be rehabilitation centers, retreat centers. You know, maybe you decide that you want to just go into a cabin in the woods for the next month until this energy dissipates. I don't know. Aries rising, it could happen. So that's the energy for Aries and for Aries rising. And there we go. So for Taurus and for Taurus rising, this you know, this square is happening between Saturn and Uranus. It's been, you've been feeling it, sorry. And the reason I'm choosing to have the chart of the moment it comes exact is because the moon is also very, very tightly involved with this. And so for you, Taurus, the moon involves your communication, it involves your 3rd house. So this could be either you or someone that you know, especially like a sibling or a cousin or a family member, or you talking to a sibling, cousin, or family member about something to do with your career, because this is happening in your career sector and you have this stellium of planets in your career sector. And you also have Mars and Venus, you know, in square. This could be, you know, maybe this could see, I mean, especially if you have a personal business and you work with clients, this could see you approaching an entirely new clientele and completely rearranging what it is that you're known for out in the world and what it is that you're doing. And it's really going to shock and awe people. But I mean, this is actually, I like this for Taurus rising people, how this is shaping up this week. The pivot, though, that is going to need to happen is going to happen with the sun and the moon, you know, in that first quarter square from the new moon in Aquarius, is going to be happening in your 11th house, which is your gains, your social status, your social circle. So maybe there's something that's coming to the fore. You know, there's new people that you're going to be associating with on that bigger scale. Maybe on the internet, you're going to team up with someone and you're going to reach a broader audience and you're going to be able to get your message across, and you're feeling really passionate about it and you're really excited about it because, you know, you have your 7th house ruler on your ascendant, you know, or in your first house, you have, and it's in square with Venus, which is your ruler, it's your chart ruler. And you know, it's also your sixth house ruler of where it is that you're showing up in service of other people, and it's in your 10th house. So she's really coming through for you in terms of, you know, smoothing the roughness there, and really I think this is really good for Taurus rising people. Especially too, because with your seventh house ruler on your ascendant, this could see you going after new clients. If you have clients, this could even see you going after a new romantic interest as well. You know, it could see maybe you meet someone through what it is that you do at work, and you know, it's, you get really fired up about it. Or, you know, the Aquarius sector, you do have, you know, Uranus and the moon together. Like I said, this is communication, communicating about changing something in what it is that you do, changing up how you communicate, using technology to communicate to other people. And it's going to be in a very practical and a very grounded way. However, do know with Saturn here, there is a chance that you could be censored somehow. You know, because the next wave is coming, it's happening, you know, just as I'm filming this, just a day prior, Robert Kennedy Jr. was completely deplatformed off of Facebook and Instagram, right? What? He's a politician and he's an advocate for social justice. Okay. He's all about sovereignty as well, personal sovereignty and informed consent. Okay. So just know that as a Taurus rising person, this could be censorship of some kind, or maybe someone's trying to limit you. This could be an authority coming in and trying to squash, and you're going to be really emotionally fired up about it, and your words are going to come out and you're going to be very shocking with how it is that you approach the situation, or maybe the specific words that come out of your mouth are going to be really shocking, because the moon does rule your third house of communication. So it'll be interesting to watch how this unfolds for Taurus rising people. So that's for you. For Gemini and for Gemini rising, this you know, moon conjunct Uranus square Saturn, this is happening in your 12th house and in your 9th house. So there's definitely, for you, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And so maybe also with Venus in your 9th house from your 12th. I mean, this is for some Gemini rising, this is, I think this is definitely, this could be a resolution, or this could be new information coming out that has to do with some type of ailment, some type of illness for you or for someone that you care about. You're getting a diagnosis for some of you. This could be that. This could, you know, this could be also having to spend money for, you know, this could see you having to change up your yeah, this could see you having to change up your insurance as well for like your health insurance, right? So like because Saturn does rule your 8th house, and it's now in your 9th house, and with the 12th house involved, especially with Uranus in square, um this could be, I mean, this could definitely have something to do with doctors or hospitals, definitely diagnosis, I would say, possibly resolution. But there's also something that's going on, you know, with the friend groups, with the social connections behind the scenes. So for some Gemini rising people with the Venus squaring Mars, this could be also leaning on your friends group. Maybe your friends group is the one that points you in the direction to the actual doctor that you need to go to, or the actual resolution of something that you need to, you know, work through. So maybe, you know, this could be, you know, resolve, but it's behind the scenes. This is like a personal kind of connection behind the scenes, to change up. And maybe, you know, you've been feeling the burden and limitation of ninth house. I mean, it's in a trine, but there's a lot of energy in your ninth house. So there's a lot of shifting and changing going on in terms of your worldview, and where it is that you maybe have been, you know, I mean, there's belligerency with some of this, but maybe where it is that your belief systems have had to come to a reckoning of sorts, especially with the ruler of your ninth in your 12th house. So with the sun square moon that's happening, this is happening in your 10th house and in your sign. So there's definitely something going on with your money and your materials. There could be a pivot that needs to happen in your career. Maybe you, like for some Gemini rising people, all of this combined this week, this could see you getting the green light to move, to take a different job that's going to be longer lasting, that's going to be paying more money, over the long haul, and you being able to really level up in terms of what it is that you're doing out in the world. Or this could be see you taking on new responsibilities and having to maybe go and, you know, I mean, this could also be maybe a family member moves in with you as well. And so now that's going to be public knowledge. Maybe someone is moving in with you, especially with the sun, which rules your oh, no, that's cousins, that's not fourth house. Wow, I'm like all over the place. I'm sorry, Gemini. Well, I mean, it could be a sibling. Maybe you have a sibling or a cousin that's going to be moving in with you for a short time, but maybe it's going to be longer than what you think it's going to be. There could be that as well. For some, I actually know a Gemini rising that's happening. That's actually a thing that's happening. So maybe this is the week that it happens, or maybe this is the week that the plans are solidified, but there's a pivot that needs to happen. So just be cognizant of that as well. So that's for Gemini. For Cancer and Cancer rising people, this is, you know, I mean, this is the chart, right? It's the chart of when it comes exact, of when the Uranus and Saturn square comes exact. But the reason I chose this chart specifically to talk about, I'm going to talk about all of it, but I wanted this chart specifically because the moon is involved with this square as it comes exact, because it is exactly conjunct Uranus as well by degree. So there's definitely some other influences that are going to be happening as this comes exact this time around. I haven't looked at the charts of when they come exact the next few times over the summer and in the winter. But for Cancer rising people, this is happening in your 11th house and in your 8th house. So for you, this is definitely something that is going to be very disruptive in terms of your friend groups, in terms of your significant other and the money that is coming in from your significant other, because Saturn does rule your 7th house. And so there's definitely something going on with your partner, your business partner, your significant other, your spouse, clients, money. And with the 7th house or the 8th house ruler of joint finances and all of that, insurances, even taxes, maybe your spouse is deciding, you know what, maybe we need to work on our will or our living will, as the case may be for some, or maybe revamp a will if you're older. But this 8th house, there's something going on with, oh yeah, there's something going on with your partner's finances, and it's very disruptive, and it has to do with you and your friends groups, or maybe you and what it is that the groups and organizations that you belong to, or even friends in general. because there's some issues there, especially with Mars squaring Venus. You know, Mars is your 10th house of what you're known for, and it's also you know, Scorpio, which is your 5th house of your children. And you know, maybe your significant other has to shell out of pocket for something, of utilizing some type of insurance to pay for something that possibly was an accident. So there could be that for some Cancer rising people, you know, or sun or moon. But also for you specifically, Cancer, with your chart ruler conjunct your 8th house ruler, you are going to be very heavily involved with this. And also be cognizant that you're not overwhelmed. Just be really cognizant that you're not overwhelmed this week, and you're not, your physical self is not you know, electric, like what's the word, like jittery, right? Like our nerves, your nervous system, like super jittery and like not able to settle down. That could be a thing for you this week. Maybe something's happening or something's going on that is causing you to be jittery. And maybe with you know, your chart ruler conjunct your 8th house ruler, this is also like money coming in from you know, partnership with someone else as well, maybe coming into you. With Venus squaring Mars, I think I actually just talked about that. So yeah, I talked about that. All right, so let's move on to the sun square moon. So this is the first quarter square coming up from the new moon in your 8th house. So you just had a new moon in your 8th house, and now it's the pivot, right? Like you're understanding what it is that's actually going to be going on moving forward, especially because this is the first quarter square happens after this chart, after Saturn and Uranus come to their exact square. So there's a pivot that's going to need to happen, and you're going to have to shift what it is that you think in that higher realm, in terms of maybe a little bit more education or teaching or writing even, or you know, having a mentor that is a more spiritually guided person. And then also with the moon coming into your 12th house, this is going to be, you know, something that's going to be going on behind the scenes for you. There's possibly you know, some communication that's going to be coming in behind the scenes that you're not really going to let people know about. But it's also, you know, there's a pivot that's going to need to happen. So there's definitely some self-reflection, some self-evaluation that's going to need to happen, especially with the moon traveling through your 12th house from this new moon that just happened last week. So that is for Cancer rising people. For Leo rising, this is happening in your 7th house and in your 10th house. So Leo, you are massively disrupting the status quo, overturning the apple cart, you know, kicking the tires, lighting the fires, getting stuff riled up, you know, just watch you're not starting actual fires, because that's the thing with Mars. Say that, I almost burnt my house down a while ago. I don't know if I should say that on, you know, in the public, but I did. So it was a couple years ago. It's fine. So with Saturn in your 7th house of relationship, you have been feeling the burden and limitation of your relationships. This, you know, it could be several different things happening at once, because there is still this big conglomerate of planets in your 7th house. So on the positive and the, you know, not so positive side, this could be restriction in relationship, or you feeling restricted in relationship. This could also be new, long lasting, very grounded, very stable relationships coming in, and you're showing up in service for those relationships. And with this square to Uranus, though, coming exact with your, you know, your 7th house ruler, your 6th house and your 7th house ruler coming into square with the moon, no less, on this day, exactly conjunct Uranus. This is the ruler of your 12th house. So there could be, for some Leo risings, and I mean, I'll use myself as an example of what's going on with me. I'm partnering with Heather Eland. I'm partnering with the Lilith Society, you know, and so I'm going to be helping Heather as a TA, right? So I'm going to be expanding my knowledge base and really grounded in that foundational astrology course that she's releasing later this spring. So there's that 12th house of something that's going on behind the scenes right now, but it's known because, you know, she's been talking about it. She's really excited about it. And, you know, the other TA, Yelena, and I, we're really excited about it. You know, so that's out in the public, that's up in that 10th house sphere. And then, like, for the 7th house, this could be a very long lasting. It's also me showing up in service for Heather and for the women on the Lilith Society, you know, doing the videos here for them, you know, in partnership with them, long lasting, you know, communication. We got the, you know, you got the Jupiter, all of it, right? So it's, you know, it can show up as simply as that for Leo rising people of, you know, showing up in service, especially because, you know, this is where the new moon was. This is the new moon in your 7th house has been really pivotal and really powerful for a lot of Leo rising people. So, you know, we're coming into this and we are showing up in service because, right? So the sun in Aquarius isn't necessarily the best placement for the sun, but it requires you to be part of the group and to fit into the group and to understand the group and understand group dynamics. So with Saturn here, this will give you that longevity to be able to set your, you know, your stuff aside to be able to show up in service of other people, because it's not what's best for just Leo rising people right now. It's best for humanity. It's best for the group and what's going to level up, right? Because everybody that I've been talking to has been saying they feel it, this leveling up that needs to happen. There's things that are being thrown at them. There are things that are happening in their lives and they're having to step up. They're having to walk their talk. They're having to do the thing. So that's a thing with this. So, and I just got really fired up there. Whew. You're welcome. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. So with Mars, though, in square with Venus, also this week, you know, this is your 9th house. This is also your 4th house. So, I mean, also though, 9th house, right? Like I just said, being a TA, this is also what I'm going to be known for. So, you know, and this week in particular, as this comes exact, I'll use myself as an example again because it's readily available. I don't care. I'm doing a masterclass and sprinkling, right? Sprinkling. I'm doing a masterclass that's going to be going on all week. There's sign up with Mercer Green. I will probably post the link to her Instagram account where you can sign up. Everything is absolutely free for this entire 2 weeks. It's all yoga, all day, all the time. But this is also, you know, just me being an astrologer. So I'm the only astrologer in this group of yoga people, which makes me giggle because, you know, I'm the only one. Okay. I'll I'll do it. It's fun, it's exciting, gives me experience trying to figure out how to teach people things. So there is that as well. So, and you know, Aries, Mars being the ruler of Aries in your 10th house, this, I'm really stumbling through this one, aren't I? Mars being in your 10th house and the ruler of your 9th, this is, you know, being known for teaching something, or maybe being known for what it is that you went to school for, being known, you know, those type of things. So then yeah, in square with Venus, which is your 10th house ruler. So there's a lot of action going on between those two. And then with this subsequent square that's happening for Leo rising people in your 8th house, you know, there's a pivot that's happening, you know, with your social groups, with your social status, with the people that you surround yourself with, social media, things like that. There's a pivot that's going to be happening. And, you know, it's maybe you're going, oh, yeah, that's true too, using other people's social media to be able to help them do things, or using other people's, working in group with other people to be able to get the that joint thing going forward, right? Like that joint venture going forward, and to where it is that you are. So there's that that's happening as well with the sun and the moon in Pisces and Gemini for you, Leo rising, in your 11th house and in your 8th house. So there's definitely a pivot that's going to be happening. And you know, electronics can be involved, you know, something maybe behind the scenes that's going on. And yeah, wow, that's so interesting that that's exactly what's going on this week. So that's for Leo rising people. You know, or sun or moon, you know, definitely a lot of stuff going on, busy, a lot of busyness. For Virgo rising people, this is happening in your 9th house, which is actually really nice for you, but also in your 6th house of your daily routines. So Saturn has been coming in and restricting what it is that you're doing for your daily routines. Okay, so I have time. And you know, really showing you where the burden and limitation is for you in terms of your daily routines and what it is that you're doing. And you're going to have to structure things much better than what you have, and you're going to have to really hone in on what it is that you need to let go of, what it is that you need to release, especially because for Virgo rising people, this is your 9th house. Taurus is your 9th house. And so there's a lot of shakeups that are happening. There's a lot of innovation that's happening. You know, your view on the world around you, maybe you're getting more education, or you're educating people. So there's definitely a lot of disruptive energy that's been happening in that 9th, and a lot of shakeups and a lot of misunderstandings and a lot of, well, what if this, and maybe it looks like this and maybe it's that. With this square with the moon, this is also, maybe you are also utilizing those friend groups, because the moon is conjunct Uranus as well when this square comes exact between Saturn and Uranus. Maybe utilizing your friends group, or maybe there's a disruption with your friends group, or there's a disruption with yeah, I see how this is going to play out for somebody in my life. Maybe there's going to be a disruption with your daily work, and you're going to have to there could very well be an offer coming in to maybe level up in terms of what it is that you're doing for your service of other people from that 6th house, because it is your 6th house ruler. And it's going to require some creativity on your part. Or what's going to happen is, you know, this could be a major disruption with your relationships, like your lovers or your children, because Saturn does rule your 5th house, Virgo. So, or a creative project that you're working on. But there's something here that's shifting, something that's changing, something that's going to be very shocking, that's going to, you know, come out of it, that is going to require you to change something and to release burden and limitations in terms of that 6th house and what's going on there. With Mars and Venus in square, this is, you know, this is the ruler of your 8th house. So there could be disruptions with your partner's finances, you know, and with Venus in the 6th house, maybe something is changing with your partner, and how it is that they're showing up in service as well is changing. So what it is that they're doing is changing as well, not just what you're doing, but what they're doing. So you're going to have to really navigate and negotiate through, you know, this this energy of the things that are stuck, right? Because it's fixed energy. So you're going to have to navigate through and really disrupt the status quo and really kind of change things up all at once. And you're going to revisit and revise it going forward too. But like with Venus and Mars specifically, you know, this is also your finances as well, because Venus does rule your second house, and it does rule, you know, your ninth house of education as well. So maybe you need to go back and get some more education on something in order to, you know, especially with finances, there's a reevaluation that needs to happen. And there's definitely like this could be the trigger being pulled on hiring employees, or this could be you having to let employees go, like depending on where you are on that spectrum, depending on how busy you are. This could also be delegating the work as well to other people. Oh yeah. So I know my husband listens to my forecast, so I'm going to tell you right now, you might need to hire somebody to help you. I'm just going to say it. Sorry. Not sorry. So there is that as well, for Virgo rising people. And from this new moon that happened in your sixth house, there's a pivot that's going to have to happen in relationship to other people. So again, with the seventh house contractual agreements, the sun is going to be in Pisces. So this could very well be, you know, your significant other, babe. So your significant other, as well as, you know, hiring somebody from the groups that you're associated with to work with you, Charles, um, to work with you for what it is that you're known for out in the world up in that 10th house. So I am just going to say that. And now I'm going to move on to apparently Scorpio. Let's see, let's back up one. So for Libra and for Libra rising, this is happening in your fifth house and your eighth house. So there could be, you know, some very shocking things that come out for your partner. Maybe something is happening, you know, with the moon here conjunct Uranus at the time of this exact square between Saturn and Uranus. This could be, and Mars, overall, between the conjunction of the moon as Saturn and Uranus come square exact, and then with the subsequent square between your chart ruler Venus and Mars, which is your seventh house ruler, and the pivot that needs to happen with the sun moving into your sixth house and the moon after moving into your ninth house, there's definitely something going on for Libra rising people this week that is going to require you. This is possibly Libra rising people deciding that they are done with the status quo. They are done with what's going on with the partnerships that they have right now in terms of business, especially because the moon is involved up in that 10th house. This could be you deciding that you're just going to completely change everything all at once, and you're just done because you yourself are really fired up. You're feeling really passionate. All of this stellium happening in Aquarius is in trine with your ascendant in your fifth house of creativity, fun, play, romance. So maybe you're really passionate about a project that you're working on, and you are just done with the people that have been taking advantage of you. You're done with the people that have been like needy Nellies, lurky loos, behind the scenes, you know, that Five of Swords energy, sneaky behind the back kind of people. You're done with it and you're moving on, and they're gone. Like that's what I see for Libra rising, some Libra rising people. For other Libra rising people, it could be that there's something going on between your children and, you know, insurances and whatnot with them. You know, what it is, maybe that, maybe there's something going on with a child that is kind of really disruptive. And so you're pulled into that as well, because that is what you're known for, that 10th house moon conjunct Uranus at this time. And like you're feeling really fired up. Maybe your partner's involved in it and you're feeling really fired up about it. And you're really passionate about what it is that's going on with something to do with either a project, a child, a lover, even. Maybe you're taking a lover to the next stage and getting married, and maybe it's going to happen like that, and you're going to get married and nobody's going to know, or it's just going to happen, right? Like that could be something out of the blue like that, or there's a surprise proposal, sorry, coming out of the blue to change the status of who you are and what you're doing and things like that. So then for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, this is a lot of this energy is happening in your fourth and in your seventh house. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on behind the scenes at home, and there's a lot of disruptions at home, but there's definitely something that's with the moon, which is the ruler of your ninth house, which is in a really nice trine to the different let's see. So Scorpio rising, sorry, I'm actually running out of time and I'm not done. So I might have to come back in and shoot the last part of this video. So I will actually stop it here. So check back. There will be part 2 coming up because I do actually need to do my day job and I ran out of time and I talked too much. So I'm really sorry about that, but I'm going to have to. So yeah, look for part 2 because I don't know how to edit videos and I just don't know. So Scorpio coming up, second video, you'll see it after I'm done work. And we're back. Like no time has passed. So for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, the square between Saturn and Uranus coming conjunct with the moon on this day next week. This is going to be happening in your fourth house and between your fourth house and your seventh house. So there's some things that are happening behind the scenes at home. There's some limitation delays, something that's really, disrupting the status quo in terms of home and relationship with other people. This is also with the moon being conjunct at this time. This is also relationship in terms of like your higher manifestation of self. Ninth house is like education. It could be maybe you are you're deciding to start a new relationship with someone in a teaching capacity or in a learning capacity. Maybe you're signing on to become a teacher, maybe at a college or or at some type of institution and you're emotionally attached to it. Or this could be starting a new relationship that has like emotional volatility, and there's going to have to be pivots that are done throughout this year for this, and changes and disruptions of the status quo. Also with Venus in square with Mars, also, Venus is behind the scenes. This is your significant other, at home behind the scenes doing work. This is also you really focusing because you're ruled by Mars. It's one of your co-rulers, this and Pluto. And Mars here, especially as it comes into this trine with Pluto later on, this is you focusing on your relationships and who you are in relationship and kind of cleaning house, it seems, with your relationships and understanding and, getting clear on what it is that you really need, want, and desire in relationship with other people as well. So this could be part of it too. And then with the sun squaring the moon later in the week, the sun moving into Pisces is going to be in your fifth house. So this is you, instead of focusing on, there's a pivot that needs to happen at the home front, but at the same time, it's going to require creativity, fun, play. It's going to require you to get creative with a solution and possibly pull on your partner's resources as well. Or maybe pull on that higher understanding with the moon as it moves into Gemini. Right? So this is for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising people. Oops, I didn't hit play. Hold on. There we go. Okay, for Sagittarius and for Sagittarius rising. So what I want to explain is that this is not your chart, right? So this is just the chart of the moment as Uranus and Saturn I can remember my words here, as Uranus and Saturn come conjunct, they're not conjunct, they're square. So as they come into a square, this is the chart of the moment that they come square, like exact to the degree, to the minute. So with that being, and it's cast for where I live. So just so you're aware of that, it would possibly look different depending on where you are, north, south, east, west, you know, where you are in the world at this time. But with, you know, with Saturn being in your third house, you know, there's a need to communicate here. There's like been restrictions and delays on communication, or there's been dedicated focus on communicating. And coming into square with Uranus and the moon especially, there could be some type of thing that you need to do of service. There could be a health issue that pops up for you because, you know, this square, maybe you need to communicate with someone about a health issue that's going on, and maybe you need to do this in partnership, or maybe your partner's health is coming into question, coming into issue, and there's something that really needs to be dealt with on that front especially. And there's communication, like I said, involved. And with Venus and Mars being in square this week as well, because Mars rules your sixth house, you could, you know, you could also have some health issues pop up, but it's in, you know, this is your sixth house. So your daily has been disruptive. There's been probably arguments and disputes. And with this moon here as well, conjunct Uranus, this is very disruptive energy. So if you are a Sag rising with any planets near that 7 degree, like I would say you're really going to feel this disruption hard. So maybe try to lay low on this day if you're a Sag rising. On, you know, February 17th, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So Eastern Standard Time. But with Mars and Venus, you know, Venus rules your 11th house and your 6th house. So you could be communicating with friends, colleagues, people that you associate with, you know, groups and organizations about your health, and or your creative projects that you have going on, because Mars does rule your 5th house, as well as your 12th house. So maybe there's something that has been percolating out in the ethers for you, maybe in your dream life or maybe in your spiritual practice, that you really have this need, want, and desire to communicate, and now it's like coming to the fore, and you're really needing to either write down your thoughts or, you know, do a video or something on it. It's communicating with that Venusian energy, you know, through friends, through possibly social media, especially being in the 3rd house, about a creative project that's coming up, and you're going to feel really impassioned about it and really excited about it. And then from this new moon this week, we also have the first or the second quarter square, as they call it. So there's going to be a pivot that needs to happen. This is going to happen on the home front and, you know, in relationship to other people. So there's definitely, between Mars and Venus and the sun and the moon, both feminine planets, both feminine, you know, it's the moon is a luminary, but both feminine planets, the moon and Venus, and Mars and the sun are masculine. So this is very much the archetypal masculine and feminine kind of fighting, right? Like there's argument here, there's passion here as well, but there's a pivot that needs to happen in order to get to that next level, in order to move on to, because with the sun coming into Pisces, it's going to conjunct Neptune at some point here. And I want to say that's close to the new moon in Pisces next month. But with the moon moving into Gemini, it's going to be conjunct the North Node as it travels through here. So there's a pivot that needs to be made, because it's a mutable sign, and it is the second quarter square. There's a pivot that needs to happen in relationship with other people and on the home front. There's something that needs to change for Sagittarius rising people, especially because it's your rising sign. So that being said, you know, this is for the highest and best good that you have as well. So that's for Sag rising. For Capricorn and for Capricorn rising, the square is happening between Saturn and Uranus in your second house and in your fifth house. So, you know, I mean, your second house with burden and limitation coming into your second house, with your chart ruler coming into your second house, your focus is on your money, on your materials, on your possessions, on how you make your money, or what it is that you find value in the world with. And coming into square with the ruler of your second house in your fifth house, I mean, this could be beautiful for you in terms of creative hobbies, creative endeavors in relationship with other people, and really getting that passion project, you know, because the fifth house is what we're passionate about. It's what we love to do because we love to do it. It's our hobbies, it's love affairs, it's romance. You know, maybe you're starting a love affair with someone, but it's in relation to your seventh house, because the moon rules your seventh house and it's conjunct Uranus at the time that these two come into a square. This is very much, this could see you taking your relationship with that lover to the next level and tying the knot, or, you know, a proposal is on the way. There is that as well. With Venus and Mars coming into a square this week, you know, Venus rules your fifth house, and it's in your second house. So, you know, maybe there's a relationship that you have with either your child, if you have children, you know, a lover, a boyfriend, girlfriend kind of situationship, you know, whatever you want to call it. There's something that's affecting your sense of self-worth. And with them being in square, because Mars rules your fourth house of home and Mars also rules your 11th house of friends, maybe there's a friend that you thought that was going to be that lover and they're not, or it's that you're really fired up and you're really passionate about this friend that you have that is now becoming a lover, right? So there's that as well. With the new moon that we just had in Aquarius, we're coming into the second quarter square. This is a pivot that needs to happen because the sun is moving into Pisces, which is a mutable sign, which is change, right? So it's a very changeable, very fickle sign, as well as Gemini, which is also a mutable sign. So the first quarter square from this new moon is in a changeable sign. There's a pivot that needs to happen. There's something that is unexpected that is coming out of the blue with this. And then you have both the sun and Venus, or you have both you have both the sun and Mars and Venus and the moon. They're all in square with each other. This is both masculine planets and both feminine planets in square with each other. There's definitely some type of passionate thing going on, something that we're really fired up about. Our ego is involved, but there's a pivot that needs to happen. So for Capricorn, this is communication. With the sun coming through into your third house, this is lighting up your communication sector. And then it's also lighting up your sixth house of where it is that you're showing up in service to other people and how you're showing up in service. And there's something that seems possibly fated or karmic about it, because the moon in this first quarter square from this new moon in Aquarius is going to be going through and conjuncting that north node in Gemini. So that's for Capricorn and for Capricorn rising. For Aquarius and for Aquarius rising, this is, I mean, this is you. This is your home. This is your family. This is your property, right? So with Saturn in your sign, which is a co-ruler for you, in square with your other chart ruler, Uranus in your fourth house, there's definitely, and the fact that Saturn rules your 12th house, there's lots of disruptions. There's lots of things going on with the moon involved, right? Conjunct over here. I don't know. I can't use my mouse on this and it bothers me, but you can see the moon, that little crescent thing at 7 degrees of Taurus. Uranus is at 7 degrees of Taurus. With Saturn and Uranus coming into a square, and this is the chart for the exact square as it happens, the moon is involved, which means your sixth house is involved, which is where you're showing up in service. Your health, your daily routines are going to be completely disrupted on the home front because there's something that you need to take care of, or maybe you are feeling the burden and limitation, or maybe you are feeling renewed and you're feeling like, you know what? I need to do this. I need to make this change. I need to get it done. This is how it's going to happen. And so it's that fired up response with that Uranus energy and the moon. So you're going to be feeling really emotionally fired up about changing something on the home front to get that daily routine where you need it to be and what you want it to be as well. So then also we have Venus square Mars this week. Now Venus rules for Aquarius. Let's see, whoop, here we go. Venus rules your 4th house, right? And it's in your sign. So Venus coming through your ascendant, I mean, this is really good. You're in the spotlight when your looks are changing, you feel, better, whatever. And also in square with Mars, which rules your 3rd house and your 10th house, Aquarius. So there could be something going on. You yourself, again, it's that changing on the home front. There's something going on, and career with this, because Mars does also rule your career sector. But there's something that's going on behind the scenes that's possibly going to affect you, your career, how you're seen out in the world, and what it is that you're doing out in the world. And then with this new moon that just happened in your sign, there's a pivot that needs to happen with how it is that you're making your money, and whatever romantic partnerships, children, play, things like that are happening in your life. There needs to be a pivot here, and there needs to be something that is changed and solidified, because it's going to open up that 5th house for you, because that's where the focal point is in your 5th house, is on the play, the love, the romance, the self-expression even, and changing something up to do with that. And this is a very fated kind of thing, and I see that coming for you. So for Pisces and for Pisces rising, so this square is happening between Saturn and Uranus, between your 3rd house and your 12th house. So there could be, you're being pulled away from the world in a way that could be very disruptive. Maybe your communication has been very disruptive, or on again, off again. But with the moon conjunct Uranus, as this square comes exact, there's definitely something, a creative project, hobby that you're going to be really passionate about and really fired up about, that you're going to want to communicate, because Taurus is your 3rd house. You want to communicate. This is thinking, speaking, communicating, writing, emails, things like that. And possibly even if you have a spiritual business, maybe you're really grounding that spiritual business down into practical form, and you're able to move forward with communicating what it is that you want to do moving forward. With Venus and Mars being in square, Mars rules your 9th house, and Mars rules your 2nd house of how it is that you're making money. So you're going to be communicating, and possibly even, working on something behind the scenes to do with money, and to do with money, and to do with that spiritual business or that spiritual practice that you have, or even if you work at a hospital or ashram or yoga retreat or things, brothels even, or rehabilitation centers. But it's also like our spiritual practice. It's also like our dreams, and bringing those dreams into reality, and speaking to them. So there's that. Now with this new moon that just happened in your 12th house, the pivot is going to be on you. So the spotlight is going to be on you. You're going to need to make the changes necessary on the home front, as we hit this 2nd quarter square of the sun moving into Pisces and the moon moving into Gemini from this new moon in Aquarius. There's a pivot that needs to happen. You specifically need to work on this in terms of like your daily routines, what it is you're doing on a daily basis. There's something that needs to change, and there's something that you need to do to be able to change up what it is that you're coming home to be able to do that passion project, or to have that lover that you want, or even something to do with your children, because Cancer is your 5th house, Pisces. So it could be something that you're really passionate about, a project that you're working on, or like a hobby that you're really passionate about and you want to take it to that next level. You yourself need to take action on it and get the ball rolling. So that is my forecast for all 12 signs. So hopefully the the merging of these two videos went smoothly, and I really am excited, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. So take care. Bye.